Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. It's your DFS review video for the 2021 Tour Championship. I'm sorry this is coming out a little late. This is a Tuesday night. I usually put these out on Sunday nights, but with Labor Day weekend, I was busy both Sunday night and Monday night, so I couldn't get this video out either of those 2 days, so here we are on a Tuesday. But I still wanted to show you what the optimal lineup versus the GPP winning lineup was. I also wanted to show you the SweetSpot score and how well the buckets did this week. So if you want to see all of those things, the timestamps, you can find them in the description below. You can also find them on YouTube's progress bar. Just hover over that and you'll see them there. But I really just want to get in this, get it through as quick as possible. I know I say that usually every week, but I think we can breeze through this one. It's pretty simple. Here we are with the GPP winning lineup versus the optimal lineup. And I would tell you the differences, but there aren't any. We finally have an optimal lineup that won a GPP. Now, I didn't have it, but four people in that $5 Drive the Green tied for first place, and they all had the optimal lineup. And it's no surprise, really. It's a 30-man field, so the permutations of lineups that can be created are pretty low relative to any other field event. You know, we never really see anything less than 60 people in a field. This one had 30. So again, pretty simple, and the pricing tiering or the price tiering kind of makes it out that way as well. So yeah, you can only have so many different lineups. Your optimal lineup, which again was the GPP winning lineup, consisted of Jon Rahm, Kevin Na, Justin Thomas, Xander Schauffele, Billy Horschel, and Daniel Berger. If you're with me in the preview and the strategy video, I would have told you you needed a 10K golfer, an 8K golfer, a 7, and a low 6, which is just anything lower than 6.5. Well, it's 6.4 and lower. So first of all, we see that 10K and above in Jon Rahm. We also get it with Justin Thomas. We get that 8K with Xander Schauffele, but the only missing piece here is the 7K. So there's no 7K golfer that would have been in the optimal lineup or even close to. Instead, we actually have 3 golfers that are in that 6.4 and lower category. So this is very stars and scrubs. It's a great lineup. It used up $49,800 of the salary. So yeah, again, 4 people tied up at top. That $50,000 prize for first place got split up. I mean, first, second, third, and fourth get added to each other and then split from there between the 4. I think they all won $21,000. So still a pretty good payout for those guys. Let's go ahead and move right to the dream sheet, which has the SweetSpot score. It also has the Marquee tee times. So we'll talk about that. We'll get in the bucket system after this page, but I just wanted to show this. Maybe I'll do a little bit of recap here. Patrick Cantlay was your starting. He was the guy leading this event before it even started. If you remember, it's obviously something that's been talked about a lot. It was a staggered start. So you can see the starting score over here, Patrick Cantlay minus 10. He had the best starting score, and let me go ahead and sort that. Tony Finau had the second best, but he finished 11th. Like, he did not play that well. And then you can also see Bryson. He was in third. It was really between Jon Rahm and Patrick Cantlay. And really, Jon Rahm was the guy. Oh, I should have playing score here, but I don't. Jon Rahm and Kevin Na tied for the lowest round. So the playing score, if you remember that from the strategy video, it's just obviously the total score minus this to get your playing score. And if I go to the results page, you can see Patrick Cantlay won at 21 under. So he still played good golf. He was 11 under for the tournament. Rahm finished at 20 under, and he started at 6. So he shot 14 under, but so did Kevin Na. Kevin Na was 14 under as well. So both of those guys were kind of your OWGR leaders for the tournament. They both tie for first, technically. So that had a lot to do, and I mean, that had a lot to do. I shouldn't say a lot to do. When it comes to the DK points, you can see Patrick Cantlay still is the top scorer. Those first place points came in handy. I mean, Jon Rahm almost caught him. He's 4 points behind, and the difference between first and second is 10 points. So obviously Rahm outplayed Patrick Cantlay, but because of the large lead that Cantlay had, Rahm couldn't catch him. So that's kind of the recap. I didn't get to watch a lot of golf because I was busy this weekend. I did pay attention. Rahm had a bogey-free 68 on the final day. I don't remember which holes that... I know he saved par a lot, but I'm not sure if he had some birdie opportunities that he should have made. It looked pretty compelling. Like, I got bits and pieces where Cantlay was like up by 4, and then that lead shrunk to 1. I'm not sure if they were ever tied. I don't remember ever hearing that or seeing it. But Rahm started out hot and then kind of fizzled, unfortunately. He really had a shot to win, and he was kind of my pick, to win this. But Cantlay is your winner. He nets the $15 million grand prize. So congratulations to Cantlay. And I don't really have anything to talk about with the rest of these guys, and I also don't want to spend too much time talking about this. So let's go ahead and let me bring up the SweetSpot score. So when we look at this, basically we want to see here. Let me freeze this. There we go, right here, so we can see the position. Oh, we're going by SweetSpot score. Sorry. So what I want to see is, I know it's a 30-man field, so we're gonna have to really kind of curb our expectations, or I shouldn't say curb it. We want to make our expectations better or more strict. So basically, I would say this: the top 10 of my SweetSpot score, I want to see more golfers inside the top 10 than outside of it. So let's see what we can find out. Spieth is number 10, so we'll have to remember that just to make things easier. But I have Rahm number 2, Thomas number 4, or he was 4th place, DeChambeau 7th, Dustin Johnson 8th, Xander and Victor in 5th. So obviously, I do have the majority of golfers. Just by 1, I have 6 golfers that were inside the top 10. So the SweetSpot score looked good, but having a 22, a 20, a 26, those don't look good. That's, the bottom third of the leaderboard. And then obviously Rory, my number 1 golfer this week, finishing 14th. That's also not really good. So to me, it's kind of like a balance. There's a little bit of a win within these ranks, but there's obviously a loss with these guys here. So I don't know. We'll have to take a look and see if we can try to update those. At least in my top 12, I had Patrick Cantlay, the winner. And you know what? Let me do something really quick. I forgot to do this. I think I can just easily do this. Yep, perfect. I want to see the optimal lineup up here when I talk about the rest of the stuff. So, yeah, the rankings, not terrible. I had 4 golfers. I can't say 4. I had 3 golfers inside the top 10 of my ranks that finished inside the optimal lineup. Now, I tried to get around 4 of those golfers. That's kind of my goal. In a 30-man field, I think my goal has to be 6. I want all 6 of my guys inside the top 10 of my ranks, that finish inside the optimal lineup. So that didn't happen, obviously. Not terrible, but I'm not going to chalk it up as a win. So SweetSpot score was okay. Now when it comes to Marquee tee time pairings, let's see here. I'll filter out by the dark green here, and then we can go by game, and you can see I have, 6 duos or 5 duos? 2, 3, 4, 5 groups to talk about. And again, what I've seen tournament by tournament is an average of 2 golfers in the optimal lineup from the Marquee tee time pairings. And as you can see, we have 3. So that was good. Eventually I want to see, hopefully I would like to see at least 4. I'll take 3 though. 3 I can go with. Like, it's almost each group, right? The Jon Rahm DeChambeau group, the Thomas Smith group, and the Berger Scheffler group. And I tell you this during every Marquee tee time pairing segment in the strategy videos, that you don't want to pair golfers up in the same group. And you can see that applied here. Justin Thomas was paired with Cameron Smith. You wanted Justin Thomas. You did not want to add Cameron Smith to your pool. Likewise, Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau. I mean, it would have been hard to pair those guys up together regardless, but you wanted to choose one. And then you had Berger and Scheffler. Berger at $5,800, which I think I highlighted him as one of my favorite low price guys. Yeah, that was easy. But again, it was just between either him or Scheffler. It wasn't both of them. You didn't want to put both on your team. So in the future, like something like this should help you. I mean, it's going to help you build your lineups, but it's also going to help you restrict how you can build your lineups. To me, that makes building easier because it takes away a lot of your options that you can start lineups with. So again, like I said, you wouldn't start Rory and DJ. Now, they weren't in the optimal lineup to begin with, but you know, with the rest of the groups you see there, it kind of just makes sense. So yeah, Marquee T10 pairing was good. I'm glad to see that worked out. The next thing I want to show is basically my picks in the prize picks video I do on Wednesdays. So when it comes to these picks, I also want to see more golfers in the optimal lineup than not. I do have two. I limited my selections. Usually I select 3 from each price range. And in this case, I only picked 1 from each price range. So I had 10K, 9K, 8K, actually 2 8s. That's kind of how I cheated because I wanted 6 golfers and then a 7K and a 6K. But I think what I should have done is basically do how I rank them in the buckets. A 10, a 9, 8, 7, high 6, and then low 6. And low 6 might have got me on someone like Daniel Berger because Scottie Scheffler would have been a high 6. Either way, we had Schauffele there, which was great. Morikawa disappointed. In fact, our bottom 3 were really bad picks when it was all said and done. So these were my picks in that Wednesday video for prize picks that I do. So yeah, not so great. But let's open this back up to everybody and sort by position once again. And let's look at the buckets. Let me go ahead and put a filter on this. So basically, when it comes to optimal lineups, now there were several ways we could have done this. Like when we were looking on how to build lineups. Let me go ahead and just open it up to everybody. I did have a function over here that said all years or just look at the last 2 where we had that Tour Championship staggered scoring. So when I have it at no, we're only looking at the 2 years, 2020 and 2019. If I open it up to all of the years, I would obviously hit yes, and that's going to update accordingly. And we're going to have more numbers over here. So we could do it that way. I mean, I can look at the cut frequency. We can choose anybody over 75% and go from there. But really, again, I don't want to spend too much time on this. So what I'm going to do is change it back to just 2020, 2019. You can see the differences. So let's go ahead and change the frequency rate just to 100. And it gives us some limited golfers. So the very first one, now we can look at this a couple different ways. We can look at the minimum maximum. So we wanted at least 2 last year 1s inside the optimal lineup. I was projecting somewhere between 3 to 6 finishing inside the top 10. So let's see if any of those actually applied. So last year 1s, we want 2 to 4 inside the top 10. Let's actually clear this out and just select the top 10 golfers. And we're looking at 2 last year 1s. We do have 2 last year 1s. That's for your optimal lineups. We want somewhere between 2 to 4. We actually have 3. And inside the top 10, we have 6. So that high projection actually worked out. So right away, let's go ahead, give this a light, kind of a money symbol green. Kind of. It's bright. It works. And then we want to look at last year 2s. We were forecasting somewhere between 1 to 2, but we usually see 2 inside the optimal lineup. So, and maybe I should also highlight this. So let's see. Last year 2s, we have 1 who was not in the optimal lineup, and we just only have 1. So, I mean, it worked out. Unfortunately, going forward, this is going to go to 0. And it's not going to have a minimum of 2, and our frequency rate won't be 100%. Still inside the top 10, it'll be good. And same with top 5, because obviously Patrick Cantlay finished inside the top 5. And that's kind of interesting too. Our top 5 frequencies are 0 to 1. And obviously, if you're wondering, like, well, that doesn't make sense with optimal lineups. With the 30-man field, sometimes you can grab people outside the top 10 for your optimal lineups just because of price tags and salary construction. So, yeah, Tour Championship is a little weird when it comes to things like that. Let me actually undo this because the one part worked. Okay. So the next bucket we want to look at is last week ones. We want somewhere between 3 to 6, just like we saw with last year ones. And we had 4 finish in, a 4 as the min and a 4 as the max. So the 2 years we've been looking at, the staggered scoring, we've seen golfers from this bucket finish in the optimal lineup at least 4 times, like at least 4 golfers. So let's take a look. Last week ones. First of all, let's look at our optimal lineup golfers. We just have 1 that actually, oh, I'm sorry, we have 2. We have 2. So that actually is going to bump down. So if I were to go back to this page and say the minimum, because it is the minimum that failed here, that's going to go down. But as we look at the rest of the top 10, I mean, there's 4 here, 6, 7. So yeah, that one definitely hit the over when it comes to projecting inside the top 10. Last week 2s, we're looking between 1 to 3 and 1 in the optimal lineup. So last week 2s. And we have JT, who also finished in the optimal lineup. Just 1 golfer, so that one also hits. And again, if you are unfamiliar, I always round down the lowest number. I treat this as if the decimal place was moved over 2 spots to the left. So I'm looking at the one I just highlighted as 1.85, and I'm going to round down. So I'm going to go to 1 because this number is larger, and usually I'll round up, but if it's that close to just the round number of 3, I'm going to keep it at 3. And then again, this one worked out because the optimal lineup did hit there. So far, I mean, 50% on the optimal lineups, 100% on the top 10s. That's looking good. Course history ones, 4 to 8. And the minimum inside the optimal lineup is 2, max is 5. Let's see if that works out. So course history ones, 1. Let's do the optimal lineups first. 1, 2, 3, 4. That works out. Inside the top 10, you can add another 4. That's 8. So that one worked out. Again, projection was 8. That one hit. And what did we have in the optimal lineup? 1, 2, 3, 4. So not quite 5, but we can go ahead and highlight this one. That's good. Course history 2s did not plays. There was 100% frequency of finishing in the optimal lineup, but when it comes to top or just projections in general, I'm projecting 0 to 1, but it doesn't look good because it's definitely under 1 for the projection. So let's see what course history 2s look like. 0. We have 0. So the projection actually worked out inside the top 10. So we can go ahead and mark this green, but we can mark this red for optimal lineups. It did not work out. Looking at recent form 2s, now we're going to the recent form buckets. We want somewhere between 1 to 3 and a minimum of 1 in the optimal lineup. So recent form 2s. John Rahm, he hits the optimal lineup for us. We have 2, 3 recent form 2s, so that one hits. That's good. And then recent form 1s, we're projecting somewhere between 3 to 6. We can almost say 7 if we want, but I'm more comfortable with 6. And then optimal lineups, 2 to 3. So let's take a look at the optimal lineups first for your recent form 1s. We have 1, 2, 3. So that obviously hits. So let's go ahead and mark that green. And it looked like the projections of somewhere between 3 to 6 is going to hit as well. So recent form 1s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. That one definitely hit. And I guess if we're rounding up with this number, it's right on the money. Now, recent form 3s, it's basically 0 to 0. We already know because we already highlighted all the top 10 golfers. So we can make that green, but now we make this red for the optimal lineups because it did not hit. And then I really don't look at salaries or strokes gained, but since the data that I have is only looking at 2 years, everything is right in line with the rest of the stats. So we can go ahead and look at these projections. So 10K and above golfers, we're projecting somewhere between 2 to 5 and at least one in the optimal lineup. Well, I already know one did. We already talked about that. We can actually put it on the maximum here. And then 2 to 5. How many did we actually see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that projection hit, which is great. It's always nice to see that. Now, 8Ks, we're projecting somewhere between 1 to 2. And then we're also looking optimal lineups, 1 to 2. We already know 1 is in the optimal lineup, so that works. But we do have 2 of our 8K golfers here too. So this one hits with the maximum, and the one hits here for the minimum. No, we don't want that color. 7Ks, we were projecting 0 to 0. So when I was talking to you about the optimal lineups and how I had said we're projecting around 1, at least 1, obviously the summary here with the bucket system says that's not what we want. And I don't think we actually saw a 7K golfer inside the top 10 at all. And we didn't. And we also didn't see it when it came to being in the optimal lineup. So the minimum here will go down. And we kind of, again, we projected that, right? So far, all of our top 10 projections are hitting on the money, which is good. Now, in a tour championship, we probably want to look more at top 5s. But the optimal lineup obviously took golfers outside, just one of them, I guess, outside the top 5. 2 of them, I'm sorry. You only see 5 on the screen, but Daniel Berger finished 11th, and he was also in the optimal lineup. So we had 2 golfers. One finished 9th and one finished 11th. Not quite top 10, but outside the top 5. And maybe I should have been looking at top 5 instead. Either way. Let's look at the next one. 6.5 and lower. Well, obviously we know the 2 hit. We actually know the 3 hit. We had 3 golfers that were 6.5 and lower, or 6.4 and lower, under 6.5. And that projection 1, it was 0 to, I mean, we could say 2, and that's going to work out just fine. That definitely hit. Strokes gained 1 golfers. Again, this is all stats positive. We have 3 that finished inside the optimal lineup, min and max, and we're projecting somewhere between 2 and 5. So what do we actually see? Strokes gained. Let's start with our optimal lineup. We have 1, 2. Just 2 golfers. So obviously that one does not hit. This one's going to go down a little bit. But the 100% is going to stay true. The 100% did hit. Maybe I should mark that. I should have probably been marking that, you know, to keep that frequency rate up for any of these other ones. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to go back and take a look. But inside the top 10, we want somewhere between 2 to 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, that one hit. We can go ahead and mark this one as the green one. And the last one is strokes gained 3. We're looking at somewhere between 1 to 2. And really in the optimal lineups, we've seen 2 every single year. So let's see if that actually holds true as well. Billy Horschel. He's the only one that did, but we do have enough 2s here to, oh, I'm sorry. We're looking for 3s. Strokes gained 3s. Justin Thomas, the only guy. And he's in the optimal lineup. So this one hits, making all of our top 10 buckets hit. And honestly, with this just being a 30-man field, that makes sense. This one did not, though. And we kind of already knew that, right? We're projecting somewhere between 1 to 2. 50% chance, I would say, to get to this 2 number. But obviously, we do get a frequency rate of 100 going forward, meaning we do want to be looking at our strokes gained 3 golfers. And just to give you a little bit of a hint here of how good that knowledge is, if I remove all of the strokes gained golfers except for the 3s, we had 4 golfers to choose from. So if you just made 25% of your lineups Thomas, Sergio, Morikawa, and Matsuyama, chances are you would have done just fine, because 25% of your guys would have had Justin, or lineups would have had Justin Thomas in it. Gives you a pretty good chance of success if you're building multiple lineups. Now, if you're only building 4 lineups and Thomas is the one, hopefully you paired him up with the right guys. But that's why I like the bucket system, is you can find these buckets of just 4 golfers, and maybe you make a popular decision. You know, you look at the rest of these guys and you're like, I don't really like Matsuyama here, and Morikawa's been playing kind of poorly as of late, and I don't trust Sergio even though he's $5,400. Let's go with Thomas and go 100% on Thomas. That obviously gives you huge leverage on most of the field, you know, of all the other people playing DFS contests. But it also grants, I mean, you just picked an optimal lineup golfer, meaning that was the right choice. There's no wrong choice with selecting Justin Thomas. It's just you have to pair him up with the other 5 correct golfers. But if you went 100% on Justin Thomas, the chance of you getting, you know, most of those golfers, maybe all of them, it's pretty high. It's higher than it would be if you only went 25%. So it's fun trying to theory craft lineups based off of the buckets, because obviously you only want to select a certain amount. Obviously the projections here bear that out. And then obviously if you're looking at the optimal lineups, that also kind of bear that out. I didn't realize my head was in the way for most of that. So yeah, again, 100% with the top 10 buckets. We either got the min correctly or we got the max when it came to the projections. And really, maybe I should change that going forward. I know it's kind of a weird way for you guys to look at it, but for me, it makes sense. Again, I'm just moving the decimal place over in this column 2 spots to the left, and then rounding that number down. If you guys want to know why this is a big number, like 356, it means out of, because I build 100 lineups. So 100 lineups have 6 positions per lineup. That's 600 positions available, period. I'm going to use 356 positions to build my lineups using last year bucket 1 golfers. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, it's just I'm reserving 356 spots out of the 600 spots relegated to my lineups towards last year ones. Meaning I will have probably, you know, obviously never mind. Can't do it that way. But 56, obviously 56 of the golfers will be, or I should say I'll have 56 lineups that will have 4 or more last year ones. And I'll have about 300 lineups. I'll have at least 3, maybe sometimes 2 last year ones in it. And again, that projection was 6. We wanted that. And we hit the max on our optimal lineups. So you did want to build right away with last year ones. And there were 14 golfers in, let's do that. There were 14 golfers in that bucket this year. So out of 14, you want to select 4. I mean, I like the odds there of picking the right guys. But anyways, that was your bucket system. Let me just double check to see if there's anything else that I need to cover. I don't think there is. I always forget what I typically cover in these review videos. I think this is about it. Usually I go over each top 20 stat. I just don't find that relevant or important anymore. Nope. We went through everything that I needed to go through. So there we have it. That is the conclusion of the 2021 season. The Fortinet Championship starts September 16th, I believe. So there is a 1-week break before the 2022 season starts. And obviously, if you saw my channel update video, you saw there are some exciting things that are around the corner. I think I can actually change right now what you can see. It's just going to look a little weird if just me switching over. So there you go. This is the new template. And I guess if I put my display capture on, same thing's going to apply, but it's going to look a little different. I'm excited about this because obviously there are more facets to this. layout. I know you see the welcome to SweetSpot logo, but that would be like where the tournament would be. And basically what type of video this is. DFS preview, DFS review, that's all going to be right there as well. So looking forward to using this in the 2022 season. We're going to still go over the same things. I'll try to alter it a little bit, but for the time being, I mean, you're going to see the same spreadsheet in the background. We're going to talk about the same things until I get that database and website up and running. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the 2022 season starting September 16th. All right, bye.